My name is Josslyn,
Hello, everybody. My name is Ian.
and today we're going to be reviewing the movie, drumroll please, Red Notice! Okay, so a basic recap of Red Notice is in a world of international crime, an Interpol agent attempts to hunt down and capture the world's most wanted art thief. They go all around the world tracking down the thief known as the Bishop, played as Gal Gilbert. FBI agent John Hartley, played by Dwayne Johnson, and art thief Nolan Booth, played by Ryan Reynolds.
All right, so today we're going to be going over basic public feedback from the audience, as well as critiquing, as well as getting what awards and also public feedback and their ratings from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. And then we're going to go on to talk about our personal feelings and critiques about this film. So the film reportedly cost about $200 million to make, but it was not nominated for any Academy Awards. So I do believe they did win a handful of awards, though. This is Netflix's most watched original movie of all time. So it was received very positively by the public, but there were lots of mixed reviews from critics.
On Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave the whole movie in general a 37%, which is not very high, as you can clearly tell. And for IMDb, it was given a 6.3 out of 10. But the audience, they believed that it was an amazing movie and gave it a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So as you can see, there were lots of mixed reviews. So let's dive right into the critic critiques. So many say that it was a cliche or a bad plot, but overall underwhelming. How do you feel about this, Jocelyn, as like an audience member watching?
I personally believe that it was a pretty good movie. I didn't think the plot was that predictable, but obviously everyone's like they have their own opinions and stuff. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
I was like waiting to see what was gonna happen, and I didn't really go like, "Ooh, the two people are gonna work together," or like just assume stuff before it happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one because when I was watching the movie, there was definitely lots of plot twists, and I just feel like that they were just kind of unexpected to the point where you couldn't really know what was happening next.
Yeah, I agree.
So other critics said that it's not really memorable and it doesn't deliver a real message. How do you feel about this comment?
I do agree that it doesn't really send a message, but to me it was very memorable because
Uh-huh.
it's still one of my favorite like top three movies that I would
Uh-huh.
definitely watch again, no matter how many times. So I didn't think it was that like that forgettable. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're definitely right about not having like a theme to portray.
Yeah, I was a little kind of underwhelmed about it. Like it was a great movie, but I think it was just so action-packed that it made it kind of confusing at points in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So moving on to another critique, it says it does contain a lot of action and humor, but often was cliche. How did you feel while watching this movie and hearing like their jokes?
Um, I did find it funny, even though they're
Uh-huh.
like more mature jokes that
Yeah.
normally like I guess our age wouldn't understand.
Uh-huh.
But I did understand it. It was actually pretty funny to me. So I don't know, just my opinion.
I will say I did laugh at some of the jokes too, especially Ryan Reynolds' jokes because he is a jokester.
Yes.
So, according to lots of critics, Gal Gadot gave a nice performance, but she had some weird mannerisms that didn't fit in. That's what they said. How do you think she portrayed the character the Bishop?
I think she portrayed it pretty well. I mean, I wasn't really like paying that much attention to her like character and how it was bad
Uh-huh.
in any way.
Yeah,
But to me, she portrayed it pretty well. And, the other people, not really.
yeah. I have to agree with you on this one because like she really hit the head on the nail with like the female villain with like kind of just stepping in with lots of presence and power. So I feel like this was a nice performance that she gave in the film.
Yeah, I
Moving
agree.
on to the next character, the FBI agents. It says that Johnson's relationship with Godot looks like it was kind of set up, and he didn't show much emotion on his face with like acting in terms of like methodical acting and like emotion. portrayal?
In general, I think he just has like a really like serious face most of the time, and it's kind of
Uh-huh.
hard to tell when he's actually happy or not.
Uh-huh.
So I think it's not really just like that he portrayed it bad. It's just his face that gives the impression that he's like never happy.
Yeah, I for one can say that I've seen his serious face on like a lot of memes and on the internet. He's just like staring into my soul. But um I do think that he did give a pretty good performance, but once again, like the character framing was a little cliche for me because I think that he plays like so many of the same characters. For example, like Fast and Furious, he also played a cop. So I just think that he's been casted in so many of these roles that it's kind of like cliche for him as an actor.
Well, I think it's just because, like I said earlier, of his like facial presence and
Uh-huh.
like his just like, cause he's like really buff, really strong. So I think that's
Yeah.
just what like everyone expects as
Uh-huh.
like as a police officer. So I think that's just why that he's just like keep on getting casted in these kind of roles.
Okay. We're gonna move on to your favorite actor. I know Josslyn, Ryan Reynolds, who plays the art thief. So, what are your thoughts on his performance?
I absolutely loved it. He's just an amazing person in general. So like I have nothing to say. He's just like a really like open guy, really funny. Even as like the person he portrayed in the movie, I
Uh
think he
huh.
portrayed it pretty well. And in some parts, it was a little like shaky in some parts, but in general, it was pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think honestly, the three top actors they hired A-listers for this movie, and I think they did a stellar performance. But the issue was a little bit of the script writing. Do you agree with this? Because like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, the character
I
writing was
agree.
a little confusing.
I agree. It's because I remember like scrolling through the reviews and someone
Uh huh.
did say that it has like a lot of twists and turns. So
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of indicates bad scripting and they're just kind of like just rolling around in random like kind of themes.
Yeah, I'm gonna like kind of dig deeper on this topic. Um, for Nolan Booth, I think that the character was pretty well scripted, but it didn't really make sense in terms of like realistically. He acted kind of like dumb or like an idiot, but like it did add to the humorous effect. But many people were complaining that he was a little too dumb to be considered like the world's second best art thief. But I do think that it added a humorous effect. What are your thoughts on this comment?
Yeah, I definitely think his portrayal of being
Uh,
dumb was like a really good way of portraying like humor and stuff. But I don't know, maybe they just wanted him to be like that because just to make people think, oh, this guy's stupid, he can't do anything. But like he can like kick and like steal and stuff. So like
mhm.
yeah.
Okay, and then I'm going to read you one more comment, which is this article goes on to say that the plot was simple and bland, and the ending didn't really fit, and some plot twists didn't make sense. Do you believe, like, are you in agreement with this comment, or are you somebody who disagrees that this plot was like kind of all over the place?
I um kind of. I believe it a little bit because
Uh
in
huh.
the ending where Ed Sheeran just randomly pops up as this at this woman's birthday party and just threw his guitar on the floor, I like I don't even know what the heck. That was like really unnecessary and kind of stupid in my opinion. But for like the main plot and all the twists and turns, I think that just adds like a more like thrilling effect to be like,
Uh
oh,
huh.
what happens next? Oh, is there gonna be any more like twists in this movie? And it kind of just like asks the big question, what else is gonna happen?
Okay, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, we were saying that they did have lots of mixed reviews. So they did get a really low score on Rotten Tomatoes, a 37% from the critics. However, the audience gave it a complete opposite and gave it a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Are you somebody who is like 100% rightfully deserved?
100% rightfully deserved. That movie is my favorite. No favoritism, but like it's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you this one question, which would be, do you think that the critics were a little too uptight with their ratings? Because the performance of this movie proved them absolutely wrong because, they did rate it initially a very low score, but it performed otherwise.
Yes, I do believe that they were a little strict on it because like even if the plot was predictable and really simple and cliche,
Uh-huh.
I do think that they're being a little too tough on it, considering like it's all A-listers and stuff. But yeah, I think they were being a little too tough on that because in general, it was a really good movie. So,
Mhm. Well, on the note of A-listers, do we want to talk about a little bit more about like how they shaped the movie and like how they kind of made the movie and like elevated it? Because I've seen lots of news articles and they were talking about how it proves that A-listers don't always produce like good movies because lots of people are just complaining that they're just marketing these A-listers as the movie. They're not marketing the movie or the story itself. What are your thoughts on this type of strategy when marketing?
um, honestly, I think some people just like think that like hiring A-listers to perform in movies is just to promote themselves, like as like their A-listers. But like
Uh-huh.
they don't even need it that much. And some people say that like they just join the movies. They're not even good at acting, you know? Like they're just there to promote the movie and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
like I don't know, maybe that's just like what they think, but I feel like some of the people in this movie were actually like good at acting and not
Mhm.
just there for just the giggles and laughs, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with you on this one. I think that their presence really elevated the movie, because it is Netflix's like most popular original movie and probably most expensive to produce. But
Yeah.
I do think that like their presence as main actors in this movie kind of elevated its popularity and its initial success.
Yeah, definitely.
I know you found a few pieces of like articles and stuff. Do you want to share some of that?
Okay, yeah. So when I was looking at some reviews about obviously Red Notice, a
Uh-huh.
lot of people, all they said basically was that it was too predictable and simple, the plot.
Mhm.
And one thing I really want to point out was that they said that the actresses and actors were not the best. Like they're
Uh-huh.
not good at acting at all. They were
Mhm.
just there. So like I want to know what your opinion is about that because I do know that like earlier you said that you do agree with me. But if
Mhm.
there's anything else you wanted to add about this.
Well, I think that once again, the A-listers were probably necessary for this movie to gain such popularity because um, two of the biggest stars in Hollywood, Ryan Reynolds and The Rock,
Mhm.
were playing like supporting characters really close to each other, like the iconic duo, if you will,
Yeah, yeah.
dynamic duo, something like Deadpool and Wolverine. But I do think that they one of their biggest purposes was to just elevate the film, and the performances, yes, they were pretty good, but I do think the bigger purpose was their presence in the film to like push its popularity up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree with that. And
Mm.
I did notice that you asked me this, but you didn't, I don't think you gave your personal opinion about it. I need your opinion on the ending scene with Ed Sheeran. It was, I
Uh-huh.
need to know.
Okay, so I did recently rewatch the ending scene with Ed Sheeran. I think it was, yes, unexpected. Also, I'm not sure if that was a wise choice with their budget because I do think that they would have to cut out a significant portion of their budget to hire Ed Sheeran to appear in a movie, which would, yes, further boost their popularity. But I think it was just completely out of place and not really a wise use of budget because it did add to the humor at the end, but it didn't really add much to the story itself or the message itself.
Yeah, I agree. I'm adding on to when you said that it was like a big waste of like the money for the budget.
Uh-huh.
I do agree because Ed Sheeran, he was like only there for 2 minutes and that's it. So like that's just really sad if you paid him like so much money just for him to show
Mhm.
up for 2 minutes. And I know a lot of people, they don't even, I'm not saying that Ed Sheeran is bad, right? I'm just saying
Yeah.
not a lot of people like him, but they also don't hate him, you know? Like it's just a mutual kind of thing, but I think they're more on like the hateful side. So I think that wasn't really like good for their movie.
Mhm. Well, I think that like it kind of reflects the choices that they made throughout the film because I've read lots of articles about this movie and lots of it was a little confusing about like why did they choose to add such weird plot twists because there were too many holes in the plot they were saying. And yes, this kind of does reflect the point that they did add kind of some random moments that didn't actually contribute to the film itself, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. One shocking part that I remember, I was like, jaw was on the floor, bro. Like, I
Okay.
was, okay, so the moment where I realized that the bishop and, what's his name? John Hartley, they
John
were like
Hartley.
together and they ended up like being like in one team and then Nolan Booth was just like, huh? So what was your opinion on that scene? Because I was like really like jaw was dropped onto the floor. I was shocked.
I have to say I was shocked as well. My jaw was quite literally detached from my body. But genuinely, I think that it was a very unexpected plot twist, but I'm not sure like how that added to the general message because lots of feedback was about it didn't really quite have a direction it was taking or a message of the film. Because yes, it's pure entertainment, which I find is great for like families and like general
Hmm.
audience, but lots of critics are being a little stiff and they're being like, "Hey, this doesn't really have a general direction and this doesn't really have a real message." So, yes, I do think that added a little bit of spice or flavor to the movie, but I don't think it added to the movie's like message or full picture if in some sense.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's because like they had a lot of like twists and turns during this whole thing.
Uh-huh.
So once that happened, I was like shocked, of course, but
Uh-huh.
in some part of me was like, Jocelyn, you kind of expected to know, like, because there's so much happening in the movie either way. So I
Uh-huh.
was like, I was kind of expecting it, but kind of not. So like it was just a really funny feeling, you know?
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Well, I think we're gonna transition maybe slowly to like our personal thoughts or critiques about this film. Do you want to start us off, Jocelyn?
Critiques? Oh,
Yeah.
um, obviously Ed Sheeran, not the best investment. So maybe kick him out of there. But like, um, I can't really, I don't have any critiques because, like I said earlier, it's basically my top like the best movie I've ever watched in my life, besides
Hmm.
from another one. But we'll talk about that next time. And well, yeah, don't nothing really. It's just all these people, what they're saying about how the plot was predictable and the actors weren't the best and too
Uh-huh.
many twists and turns. I honestly just found that thrilling more in a sensible way and not just, oh, this is not good because too many twists and turns. Like,
Uh-huh.
I just found it thrilling. So I don't, yeah, just my personal opinion.
Okay. So you guys are gonna have to tune in if you want to hear Jocelyn's favorite movie. But on the other hand, I do think they did spend quite the budget, 200 million. That is quite a stack of cash. But my favorite part, I think, would be the beautiful cinematic because it
Hmm.
was a chase all around the world, and I think that they did if a great job, not only on like the action or like the CGI, but I think they did a great job on portraying like the different destinations and cities that they showed throughout the movie because like sometimes on the mountains, they're in jail and they're like in a very cold environment and they're like floating around with a drone and like showing us all of these great sceneries. And then on the other hand, they're in like a city or like in Rome. And I just think this kind of encapsulates lots of beautiful terrain around the world. So, in conclusion, Jocelyn, what would you say? Like, what would your critique be about this movie? Like, what is your thoughts?
Ed Sheeran's gotta go. Like, I'm sorry, Ed Sheeran, if you're like, not trying to like say anything bad about Ed Sheeran, but he's gotta go. He didn't add a lot of purpose in this movie, and it was kind of just even if people like did like Ed Sheeran a little more than right now,
Uh
I
huh.
still feel like his appearance there was really unnecessary, and the way he acted in the last scene was also like really unprofessional to me. I was like sitting there, I was like, oh my God, Ed Sheeran, stop, get out. Like, I don't want to see you on that screen anymore because you're like embarrassing yourself. And I was like getting secondhand embarrassment just from watching
Oh, okay. Well, y'all heard it. Ed Sheeran's gotta go.
that.
Thank you
What
so
about
much for
you?
tuning. Oh, for me,
Oh, yeah.
I think mm, I'm gonna have to agree because I don't think that their budget would be so large if they didn't like spend it not quite wisely on like resources and actors because A-listers, first of all, huge budget already because you're hiring three like top actors from Hollywood to boost the popularity. Yes, I believe that that was effective in the movie, but it was also
Mhm.
very costly. And then adding on like a top celebrity, Ed Sheeran, like adding him into the movie would also take quite some money, even if only for 2 minutes. But I do have to agree with your sentiment. Ed Sheeran's gotta.
Yes.
Well, that's our conclusion, y'all. Ed Sheeran's gotta go. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
Bye.